So it's important to keep immunotherapy in context. We have three effective ways to treat cancer and have had them for a while: surgery, radiation, and chemotherapy. And the good news is that well over half of everyone who's diagnosed with cancer can be cured by the appropriate application of those three modalities. The problem is that once the cancer spreads, that is, metastasizes, it's very difficult to cure patients. And over 600,000 Americans die of cancer each year with the best application of those three therapies. It's clear we need something better, or in addition to those three treatments. And so we've been working on a fourth treatment called immunotherapy that takes advantage of the body's own natural immune systems. We don't use scalpels or radiation beams or drugs. We try to take advantage of the fact that the body recognizes a cancer as foreign and try to amplify those responses to cause cancer regression. And so we've been working for well over 4 decades here at the National Cancer Institute in Bethesda, Maryland, trying to develop these new treatments. The first treatment that we developed, the first ever immunotherapy approved by the Food and Drug Administration, was the application and administration of interleukin 2, a T cell growth factor that was based on the intuition that the body did contain natural cells that could recognize the cancer as foreign. And by stimulating non-specifically, we could develop new immunotherapies. And so the first immunotherapy ever approved by the FDA was interleukin 2 T cell growth factor in 1992 for patients with renal cancer and 1998 for patients with metastatic melanoma. We then went on to try to understand how that worked. Why did we get responses, and could identify a kind of cell in the body called a tumor infiltrating lymphocyte, or TIL. And what better kind of cell or what better place to look for a cell doing battle against the cancer than within the cancer itself? And so by growing these TIL, we could identify lymphocytes that could actually recognize the cancer. And by growing those lymphocytes to large numbers, we could then administer them back to the patient after we get rid of the inhibitory influences in the immune system before the administration of the TIL. And when that happened, we began to see responses in patients with metastatic melanoma. And that became a second treatment recently approved by the Food and Drug Administration. That is the administration of cells as a living drug. You administer these cells, they're alive, they recognize their antigen, they expand, they grow to large numbers. And when re-administered in our latest trial in metastatic melanoma, we could get objective cancer responses in 56% of patients, about a quarter of which were complete, durable, and likely curative responses. We very quickly began working on other treatments to use genetic modification of the cells, developed CAR T cells that got approved for the treatment of patients with lymphomas. We first used that in 2009. It got approved by the FDA in 2017. So we're working day and night to try to develop more effective immunotherapies for patients with cancer that can join surgery, radiation, and chemotherapy. So progress in immunotherapy is based on understanding the very complex biology that exists as the immune system can target the cancer. We now understand what the antigens are. Largely, they represent the processed products of mutations that were probably involved in causing the cancer in the first place. And by targeting these mutations, we can begin to think about the treatment of patients that have a variety of different cancer types, since virtually every cancer has mutations. And I think as we understand more of the basic biology, we're able to improve the treatments. And just in the past 2 months, we published a paper for the first time showing that TIL cells can work not only in melanoma, but in the common epithelial cancers, that's solid organs in the body that result in 90% of all deaths from cancer, all the way from the rectum to the colon to the stomach, the esophagus, as well as other solid tumors, the prostate, ovary, endometrium, and so on. So as information increases in the basic sciences about immunology and the mechanisms that both enhance and inhibit immune reactions, the better we'll be able to improve the treatment. And in fact, the Journal of Immunotherapy concentrates both on the scientific aspects as well as the translational aspects to patients. So every manuscript I look at, assigned to associate editors. Every manuscript that we publish gets peer reviewed with comments. Often, most often, they're sent back to authors for corrections. Um, but we're interested in articles both at both levels of the study of cancer immunology, and that is the basic aspects of the recognition, processing, uh, identification of cancer antigens, as well as clinical trials that utilize that information to treat patients. And so it covers a broad range of subjects. And we get these papers from around the world, uh, uh, sort of the uh, Eastern European countries,
Hmm.
Asian countries, as well as many from the United States as well. So we're interested in the broad field of immunology as it applies to immunotherapy. Well, we were one of the first journals ever in the field of cancer immunotherapy. There have been immunology journals, but the first journal to directly attack uh, use immune responses to attack the cancer was a Journal of Immunology, and it's grown over the years. We used to publish once every uh, 2 months. Now we publish 9 issues a year, and again are seeking high quality articles both from the basic scientific area as well as a clinical translation from groups around the world. I would say uh, probably a little over half of the papers that we publish come from scientists in countries other than the United States. So, although we were one of the earliest journals, there are now many journals that deal with cancer immunotherapy. People, when I started this work, there was no information that, in fact, there was such a thing as an immune response against cancer. But as we started to develop that information, as we started to develop clinical trials that could cause cancer aggression simply based on immune reactions, it attracted a lot of interest around the world, and increasing numbers of journals have appeared. We started as the official journal of the Society for the Immunotherapy of Cancer. They then split off and had their own journal. The AACR, American Association for Cancer Research, has a journal in cancer immunotherapy, as do we. So there are many different sources now that people can utilize to publish articles in cancer immunology and immunotherapy. But I think we play a major role in disseminating that information to the public as a whole. We can get papers out pretty quickly after they're submitted. We try to get very rapid peer review so that there's not a delay in getting information to people who need it.